The conditions were met, and on July 11th, 1972, the match began.
Game 1's an amazing game. Bobby plays a move that club players know not to play. He takes a pawn with his bishop. A rook pawn allows his bishop to be trapped.
The mistake cost Bobby the first game.
Oh, I think he blundered, you know. I think that's pretty clear, you know. I think he was disturbed by some TV towers, you know, were hanging over him there, you know.
There was a man by the name of Chester Fox who had the camera rights, and he had to wrap the cameras in burlap. Fischer said he could hear the cameras even. He even said he heard the cameras when they weren't even turned on.
Mr. Fox, yes. If it's not the noise that's bucking Mr. Fischer, what could it then be? I don't think anybody can tell you other than Bobby Fischer, and maybe he can't tell you.
Bobby insisted that the cameras be removed. The Icelanders refused. Game 2 also went to Spassky by forfeit.
He didn't show up for the second game and lost it too.
The championship is a best of 24, with both players earning a half point for a draw. The first to 12.5 points is the victor.
Tremendous disadvantage. Should be behind 2-0 at the start of a match.
That's 5-0 in the last inning. It's a very, very big hole.
But Bobby was unwavering, and he refused to continue unless the cameras were removed.
Then we decided, away with the cameras. We are not jeopardizing the mats for the cameras.
They end up moving Game 3 into a tiny little room at the back, which is normally used for table tennis. And it was possibly Boris Spassky's big mistake.
The Russians understood. They warned Spassky. They said, don't give in to him. Don't let him take control with his demands. Don't let it become his match, his tournament.
Mr. Spassky, are you happy with the arrangements for today's game?
He didn't need to agree to it. He could have stuck to his guns, and Fischer would have forfeited the World Championship, and Spassky would have remained world champion.
Instead, Bobby seized the momentum, winning Game 3.
That was a tremendous moment because it was the first time in his life Fischer had beaten Spassky. And it also indicated to us that Spassky wasn't quite on his game. He may have been rattled by all the shenanigans that had already happened.
I don't think Fischer deliberately played psychological games, but the effect of his demands was to psychologically destroy his opponents.
He won 6.5 out of his next 8 games, which it just doesn't make any sense against a player of Spassky's caliber.
The Soviets even begin to wonder whether the CIA are poisoning Spassky. They check the chairs, they take the lights apart, and all they can find are 2 dead flies.
A sample of his orange juice is flown to a KGB laboratory in Moscow for testing.
They were measuring all kinds of beams and rays that could get into there.
It can't be the case that Spassky is just crumbling like this in the face of Fischer's psychological onslaught.
No evidence was discovered, and the match continued.
I think the second half of this match, there was much more of a fight somehow, you know. Because Spassky had, you know, he had regained his composure, he had also regained his self-confidence, you know.
But Game 11 would be Spassky's last victory. After 7 consecutive draws, Bobby was on the verge of winning the title. Midway through the 21st game, Spassky conceded. The World Championship belonged to Fischer.
What does it feel like after 20 years to suddenly become the world champion?
Feels pretty good.
I can't say I was actually crying, but I was misting up. I felt extremely proud that Bobby finally made it, and he was an American, and he had defeated the Soviets.
Coming from behind against great odds, against the Soviet machine, it was a wonderful moment.
Next up, Fischer stuns the chess world.
Fischer just disappeared. No speeches, no giving autographs, and it was to foreshadow what he was going to do for the rest of his life.
He stopped playing. He disappeared.